Hey, how you doing? Welcome to episode, I think it's episode 42 of the NOTCAST, and today is an unexpected episode that perhaps this morning I certainly wasn't thinking about making. It is the 8th of January 2021. It is David Bowie's 74th birthday, had he had a 74th birthday, and I have put a temporary change to schedule programming, as they used to say. Today I was originally planning to talk about Depeche Mode, and more accurately where to start if you're starting off in the world of Depeche Mode and what to buy. But instead I have been vexed by the estate of Sir David Bowie, and I'm going to talk through, I think, a common and much shared opinion around the way in which his estate has shambolically mismanaged the David Bowie legacy since his death. David Bowie, as a commercial business entity, has released far more material in the 5 years since he has died than in the 15-20 years beforehand. So let's have a quick look through some of what's been released. First and foremost, to celebrate his 74th birthday, the estate released today a single called Mother and Trying to Get to Heaven, cover of John Lennon and Bob Dylan. On the B-side, limited to 8,167 copies, and it didn't go well because I didn't get a copy. I didn't get a copy for a number of reasons. The first one is the amount of copies that have been put on sale is insultingly low, given the amount of interest that there is. Secondly, the pre-sale link went live 20 minutes before they told anybody that the link had gone off. So actually the cream vinyl had sold out before anybody had even known that the official announcement had been made. And thirdly, that few copies of a 7-inch single just isn't enough to satisfy demand. There's no reason for them to sell so few copies. There's no benefit. It's not exciting. It's not interesting. It's just pure exploitation of the fan base, which is something that we've seen a lot of times over the past few years. And not only is it pure exploitation, it's not even competent exploitation. If you're going to exploit the fan base, do it well and do it with some degree of integrity. David Bowie's legacy deserves far better than it's currently being treated by the callous and heartless way in which the estate is currently operating. And I'm going to make no bones about it here. It is shameful the way that David Bowie releases have been issued in the time since his death. And by the way, you will notice up here, normally there's some box sets up here. Those box sets aren't there. They're props which I'm going to be using later on. And so since David Bowie has died, well, just before David Bowie died, we saw the release of this, the 5 years box set, which if you bought from the David Bowie web store, came with a 10-inch EP of the Pin-Ups radio show, I believe. However, inside here, and I'm going to use this for dramatic effect here, there is enough space in the box to put in this, which is the Metropolis, I believe it's called. Now, we're going to come back to that release later on. So what's David Bowie released in and around, retrospectively, in the past few years? Well, here's the 5 years box set, which on CD was something over £100, on vinyl was something over £200, currently heavily deleted, and so therefore sells for sometimes £500-600. Ridiculous. Now, 2016, of course, there was a terrible day when his death was announced, and there's a theory, I can't remember which religion it is now, that there are 29 individuals on the face of the earth that somehow hold the integrity of civilization and reality together. Given what has happened in world politics over the past few years, I'm very firmly of the view that of those 29 people, one was David Bowie, one was Prince, one was Lemmy, one was probably Alan Rickman, and that's responsible for the unravelling of reality that we have in a political sense ever since. 2016 again saw the release of David Bowie's Who Can I Be Now box set, which presented all of his albums from the period 1974 to 1976. alongside a remix of Station to Station and an album called The Gouster, which is an early version of Young Americans, alongside Live at Nassau Coliseum 1976, which means that unless you bought the much expanded version of Station to Station in 2010, which, by the way, I think the vinyl edition featuring Live at Nassau Coliseum came with 5 CDs, a DVD, 3 LPs, was something like £300. If you wanted to have Nassau Coliseum on vinyl, well, you had to pay £300 to get it. Or you bought the vinyl edition of this box set, which was something like £125. Of course, not long after that came out, and bearing in mind it also features a previously unreleased album called The Gouster that is still officially only available on the box set, which is, again, shameful in the way in which it's exploiting the fan base interest. And then later, Nassau Coliseum was released as a standalone album in early 2017. But The Gouster wasn't. Do you want to own The Gouster by David Bowie? Well, you have to buy the box set. Tough shit, suckers. David Bowie, even in death, clearly needs an awful lot of money to buy expensive new shoes, cars, mansions, jet planes, and God knows what else. Now, I'm going to remind you of a phrase, very, very important. I'm going to come back to this many times. Dead people can't say no. David Bowie can't go, that is a ridiculous and exploitative idea and we shouldn't do it. He has not got that veto power unless they have a conversation with him via Ouija board, which, as far as I'm aware, is doubtful as to whether that will stand up in court. And then, obviously, we've gone now into early 2017. What else came out? Oh, well, here's a box set that was released for Record Store Day in 2017, Bow Promo 1. Lovely package, but only available on Record Store Day. Obviously heavily limited, quite deleted, quite expensive to get hold of. And a version of a way of releasing early mixes of tracks from the respective album. Now, we've got to early 2017. David Bowie's been dead a year. Well, let's just watch the roller coaster go, shall we? So, what happened next? There's been plenty of releases. 2017 also saw the release of A New Career in a New Town. Again, a box set available on vinyl and CD. CD about £125. Vinyl was probably about £200. Features a remix of Lodger, an alternate version of the album created and mixed by, I think it's Tony Visconti in late 2015, early 2016. David Bowie apparently heard and liked several of the mixes off it, but David wanted to concentrate on recording Black Star, which was the right thing to do. However, if you want to hear a remixed version of Lodger, which David Bowie approved and apparently was really enthusiastic about, tough shit, suckers, you have to buy the box set. And again, what's David spending the money on? Because dead people can't spend money, and dead people can't say no. 2018, of course, and we've not even got to the worst of it yet, by the way. Another box set. Well, this one's quite expensive too. Now, what's on here that you haven't heard? Well, this is the first time you get audio releases of the Dance album, which is a remix album. The Serious Moonlight live release. The Glass Spider Tour live release, and a remix or re-recorded version of Never Let Me Down Again. Would you like to get David Bowie's worst album, Never Let Me Down Again, or possibly Pin-Ups is worse, in a re-recorded remixed fashion that sounds considerably less sucky? Because if you do, you have to buy the box set. Now, as I understand it, versions of Glass Spider and Serious Moonlight were released on CD, but not on vinyl. Which means if you want to get the vinyl versions of these, you have to buy the box set. That's the greatest hit you're going to hear. Dead people don't say no, and you have to buy the box set in order to get it. Late 2018. Oh, look, here's Bowie at Glastonbury. Well, what about his albums that have either never been released on vinyl or are difficult to get on vinyl? Specifically, I'm thinking Black Tie, White Noise, Buddha of Suburbia, Outside, Earthling, Hours. Difficult to get these days. Been deleted for many, many years if they were ever released on vinyl at all. Generally released in coloured vinyl editions in 2016 in a few hundred. They sell for hundreds and hundreds of pounds now, and you can't get them. And also, by the way, The only place to get the expanded versions of the albums with the B-sides is this box set from 2007. So again, you've got to buy the box set, and the estate has decided, well, I'm not going to release the box set that goes alongside this period. They're not going to put the album back into press on vinyl. David's been dead for 5 years. People would like to buy Outside, Earthling, Buddha of Suburbia, Black Tie, White Noise and Hours on vinyl without paying several £100s to scalpers and fleecers on eBay and Discogs. But the estate is out there going, do you know what this world needs? I'll tell you what this world needs. It really, really needs a number of 7-inch box sets. Now here's a pretty battered original version of the Space Oddity album. And because this was coming up to its copyright extension period very recently, 2018, 2019, the estate released a number of 7-inch box sets, which I didn't buy because they are a goddamn rip-off, called Spying Through the Keyhole, and I think the Clareville Road demos, which were 7 inches, multiple 7 inches, selling for £20–30 each, of scrappily recorded David Bowie demos. There was also a Mercury Demos LP which sold for something like £60 or £70 in a box set. And again, ridiculous prices, quite limited, difficult to get a hold of, and the content was pretty shoddy, to be honest. You were being asked to pay £30 for a multiple 7-inch set of crappy demos which are over 50 years old, and the only reason they're coming out is because of copyright extensions, and if they don't release it, someone else can release it, and presumably that someone else wouldn't be able to charge it. But we can't even say that David Bowie's getting the money for those 7-inch box sets because he's dead, guys. Okay, doesn't matter, fan base will buy it, right? Quite literally, I'm just sitting around every day in the middle of the COVID catastrophe going, God, I haven't got any records I like, I haven't got any music I want to buy. I really hope the estate of David Bowie unearths some old demos and then puts them on some 7-inch singles and puts them in a box set and charges me an absolute fortune to buy them, because I literally have no idea what to spend my money on. It's insulting and it's wrong. It's exploitative. It shouldn't be this hard to buy the music I love. And if you make it this hard, this difficult and this expensive to buy the music I love, I'm going to stop giving a shit about buying it. I'm not going to care, okay? If you're going to treat me as if all I am is a wallet to be dipped in whenever you feel like it in order to extract some more money out of me because I like David Bowie, I'm going to stop caring, okay? Up until the date of his death, everything's absolutely fine, completely understood. The man signed it off, or he signed the original contracts that put him in the position where those had to be released. I'm totally on board with all of those releases. They are legitimate David Bowie releases. These exploitative bullshit fake limited editions that don't need to exist, that exist only to create some kind of weird and bizarre collector value, are the artistic equivalent of grave robbing. And that's a very, very strong word, but that is exactly what it is, because dead people can't say no. I'm fairly sure that in the estate, apparently David left out a plan for what he wanted to release after his death that was detailed and went out about 5 years after the date of his death. Something tells me that in whenever it was, when he signed that off, what he didn't think was, well, I need to put out another limited edition remix version of The Man Who Sold the World by Tony Visconti, primarily because the copyright's about to expire and my family will need more money, bearing in mind that the man had over $100 million in his bank account. He didn't need the money. Something tells me that he didn't sit there and go, let's get a remix of this out with a slightly different cover and a slightly different name that I originally changed my mind about, and then, by the way, we'll put this out in multiple random coloured vinyl versions. So the vinyl version of the Metropolis comes in 3 editions. I think there's a black vinyl, there is a gold vinyl, and I think there's like there's another colour. It doesn't matter, but they're distributed at random. And I think there's 1,970 of one of the vinyl editions. The gold one, there's 50 of them, and the only way you know you've got them is if you open them and you get the very nice colour that sits inside. So if you're a David Bowie fan, you can't even say, I'm going to go and buy the coloured vinyl version. You have no idea if you bought it. Unless you've bought something like 15,000 copies, you can't guarantee you've got the coloured vinyl version of this album, or even all the coloured vinyl versions. So at a certain point you go, do you know what, I'm just not going to play the game. I'm not going to buy multiple copies of an album just in the hope that I somehow get a slightly different coloured vinyl. Now, David Bowie wasn't above or beyond releasing coloured vinyl in his lifetime. Here is the Stage album, which is bloody brilliant, by the way, which was £7.98 from W.H. Smith in about 1979. Now, this is the first edition of the album. Lovely, lovely yellow vinyl. But you knew what you were getting. It told you in a great big whacking sticker right on the front exactly what you were getting. You weren't opening it and hoping you were getting some random coloured vinyl. You knew you were getting the special limited edition on yellow vinyl for £7.98, which, by the way, was not cheap for a record in those days. That was quite a significant investment. Now, I haven't done the inflation calculator to tell you how much £7.98 was in 1978 or 1979. But I can guarantee you it wasn't cheap. But you knew you were getting the yellow vinyl when you bought it those days. If you go and buy the Station to Station reissue, which has its 45th anniversary this year, it's going to be distributed on random colours of vinyl, including a limited red and a limited white, which again you're not going to know until you open the record. So why'd you bloody bother? If you're a David Bowie collector and you're going to buy all of the stuff, there just comes a point where you're just going to have to cut your losses and go, do you know what, fuck it, I'm not playing anymore. It's too difficult to be a David Bowie fan and to be a completist, because the estate have just looked at you and said, we can screw you out of money. And it's insulting and it's wrong. And by the way, here's the man who sold the world the original LP, or more correctly, not the original LP, but a mid-70s kind of ish reissue with a slightly different cover. Again, they're probably going to release a version of that at some point. Station to Station, it doesn't matter what colour you listen to it on, it sounds bloody brilliant. But if you want the red vinyl version or the white vinyl version, you've already bought it, or more correctly, Station to Station will already have been issued at least 3 times in the past 10 years. There is the 2010 box set version here, which the most expensive flavour of that was £300. There is the version that's on the Who Can I Be Now box set that's down there, so that's a second reissue. And then you'll have the reissue again in random red or white vinyl, and you end up just going, no, I'm worth more than that. I am not your bitch. Now, I'm a record collector, I'm not going to pretend that I'm not, and I like to have the fancy rare versions, but I'm not going to throw away hundreds of pounds to scalpers on eBay because I couldn't get the version of the record that I wanted. I'm just not going to buy it. You know, there's a massively declining physical record market at the moment, and to treat your fans like dirt and as if they're just merely, you know, marks to be conned out of, like we're somehow the musical equivalent of some idiot that got distracted by a 3-cup card game in the street in Spain in 1976. David Bowie deserves better, and so do we, and so frankly do you. But don't care about dignity or integrity. Beautiful money, all that matters. And it's quite wrong. Here, by the way, is the first of the David Bowie live albums that was released posthumously. This is Cracked Actor, which, if I recall correctly, was recorded in Los Angeles in 1974 on a slightly different date of the tour to the one that became David Live 1974. Again, this was released on Record Store Day. There was a limited edition, 1 run on CD, 1 run on vinyl. Now 2020 saw another Record Store Day live release from the 1974 tour. This is the Soul Tour 1974. Again, released on LP and CD, 1 run, 1 pressing, only available on Record Store Day. This was not cheap, and it should have been cheap. I mean, it's a great record. I love it to bits. It's raw, it's rough, it's ready, but too many bullshit reissues. Luckily, this wasn't released on a random colour vinyl. Another Record Store Day release, but Bowie Now, which is a reissue of a promotional LP that was released in the 70s, which focused upon his then most recent LPs. This version is on white vinyl. So again, if you've got the original version from 1970 something, well, good for you. Here's another album, David Bowie live in Berlin. This is mastered slow. So they want all of your money, but they're not prepared to give you the quality and get it right. This is on orange vinyl, but also it was only available from the Brooklyn Museum exhibition of David Bowie is the touring version of his archive, which means unless you went to Brooklyn or you knew somebody that went to a museum in Brooklyn in a 9-month period, you don't have a complete David Bowie collection. That's bullshit, guys. It's exploitative and it's wrong. Or luckily, if you're me, you wait until they find out they've got hundreds of unsold copies and then you order it off their web store later on. Here's another live album, David Bowie, Welcome to the Blackout, live at Earl's Court, 1978. Again, released after he's dead, because dead people can't say no. Here's a 12-inch single of Let's Dance. That's a demo version that's not been released on anything else. Released, I think, for Record Store Day in 2018. Honestly, man, this guy's released more records than Guns N' Roses have released in their whole life, and he's been dead the whole time. He's like Hot Black Desiato, dead for tax purposes for a whole year, and yet somehow still managing to crank out endless realms of product. There's too much shit on the shelves. Okay, here's Tin Machine 2. This is a coloured vinyl version. Special spot vinyl sleeve, silver coloured vinyl. At least this one told you it was coloured vinyl, as opposed to buying it and randomly hoping that it would turn out to be a coloured vinyl. Here's the 2009 version of the Space Oddity album, which, by the way, was released 10 years later as a 5-CD set called Conversation Piece. And Conversation Piece features all the songs that are on the Mercury Demos LP, and the Spying Through a Keyhole, and the Clareville Road demos, or sorry, Clareville Grove, plus a number of other demo tracks, which something else, plus a remix of the David Bowie album. Because what you don't have is enough David Bowie records. I just looked at all that and went, you know what, sod it, I'm just going to buy second-hand the 2-CD version that came out in 2009 or thereabouts. And this is, by the way, these are not new reissues. There have been plenty of David Bowie reissues. So, for example, his debut album has been released as a 2-CD. That's now been released as a picture disc, limited to 2,000 copies, probably because nobody else will buy more than that. Here's the Riker disc version of Hunky Dory. And by the way, you know, all those early albums have been issued on CD many times. They were issued in 1983 or thereabouts. Here's a Riker disc version of The Man Who Sold the World. I'm beginning to lose track of how many versions of The Man Who Sold the World there are, and I still haven't got them all. Here's the Riker disc version of Ziggy Stardust. Here's the Ziggy Stardust 30th anniversary edition. Here's yet another version of Ziggy Stardust. Here's Live at Santa Monica again. Here's another version. This is the Ryko version of Aladdin Sane that doesn't have any bonus tracks on. Here's Pin-Ups. That's the Ryko disc version with some more bonus tracks on. You can't get the bonus tracks from anywhere else. Here's Diamond Dogs. Here's, oh, this is Crack's Actor again. I mean, Jesus, how many albums? I've bought too many, haven't I? Here's David Live. Here's The Soul Tour. Here's Young Americans. By the way, there's a DVD version of Young Americans with a 5-1 mix from about 2007 actually, which is now deleted. Cost a lot of money. Here's the Riker disc version of Station to Station. I think that's the 4th version of Station to Station I've got on CD, and there's a number of versions and masterings and reissues I haven't bought. Here's the Riker disc of Low with some extra tracks that were re-recorded outside of the time period, because if I remember correctly, it's actually Heroes has a song which we don't know was actually recorded at the time. So this is a Riker disc version of Heroes that features a 1991 reissue with a track called Abdul Mujahid, I think it's pronounced, which is actually the name of David Bowie's wife, who he didn't meet until about 1989. So presumably he either had an instrumental hanging around for 12 years with no title, or he just made some stuff up to fluff out the reissue. Here's Welcome to the Blackout. Again, here's another version. Here's Lodger. That's the Riker disc edition. Here's a Riker disc version of Scary Monsters. And then we get to the brilliant Live Adventures series. So about 6 months ago, the estate of David Bowie announced another box set called The Brilliant Live Adventures, I think in 1995 to 1999, which was going to be 6 live releases, all limited runs. I think it's 6,000 CDs and 4,000 vinyl editions of 6 live shows that David Bowie had recorded and mixed during that period. Again, I have no idea if he approved these. I have no idea if he just mixed them or whether he went, actually, I want you guys to release a 6-album limited edition box set. And by the way, don't sell the box set as a complete set with the 6 albums in. You can sell them the empty cardboard box, and then once a month release one of the shows and sell it to them. So far we've had Dallas 1995, Birmingham 1995, and we've got the Live and Well set from 1998 coming out. But in order to get those, firstly you have to buy one every month, like a subscription, but you can't buy a subscription model. You have to make sure that you order it on the day it's released or it sells out. So once a month, every day, I have to make sure that I am ready at a certain time of day. They never tell you what time of day it is, by the way, in order to buy them, in order to get David Bowie live albums. And I'm bored of it because I've got nothing else going on in my life. I've got no stress, hassle. I've got no work to worry about. I can just literally sit around twiddling my thumbs all day long and going, what are the estate of David Bowie going to sell to me today? I think they might put a live album out, but I'm not sure when. I'm pretty sure it's going to sell out pretty quickly. I'll just sit around and wait for the estate to tell me when I can spend money. Luckily, I have a flexible living environment that allows me to do so. But it shouldn't be that bloody difficult in order to spend money with a dead man. Okay, it really, really shouldn't. The only thing that makes all of these limited is an artificially imposed and pointless scarcity of supply to please the estate, so they can go, look, we stuck out this, which is another David Bowie live album recorded in the studio in I think 1996 in New York, an acoustic live album. It's brilliant. It shouldn't be a Record Store Day 2020 exclusive limited to a few thousand copies. It's much better than that. And by the way, this is another David Bowie record that's come out recently. It's Is It Any Wonder, that was released again by mail order. You can only buy it from his record store, from his web shop. And if his web shop screws up, tough, because there aren't going to be any extras. So for example, the day that I ordered this, 5 minutes after it was announced, I ordered the LP and I ordered the CD. And then when it came to fulfilling the order, for some reason, whoever it was doing it, just stuck an LP in. They didn't put my CD in, which means if I want to have a CD of this, despite having ordered it on the day it came out and paid for it within 10 minutes of it being announced and put on sale, I cannot get a copy of it on CD because some Dilbert somewhere at a warehouse forgot to pick up the CD on what was probably a bad Tuesday for them. And so therefore, because you can't go to a shop and you can't order it from another shop, because the only place you can buy it from is the shop that screwed up my order, and they only did one print run. I mean, for God's sake, guys, this is insultingly bad customer service. Press more copies than you sell, people, and then make sure that you've got some left over in case you screw up, because even with the best will in the world, you will screw up. Here is Changes One Bowie. For some reason, because I could buy this from a store, I got the CD and the LP. But is it any wonder I could only buy it from the David Bowie store? If I didn't like their customer service or I got it wrong, there's nowhere else I could go, and there's no other options I could have unless I went to Discogs or to eBay and I paid an astronomical amount of money, and no record is worth that much money. You could tell me that the only copy in the world of the next U2 album could be mine if I was going to pay £600 for it, and I'll be the only person to ever hear it. And I'd be like, do you know what? No, I can't afford that. I might club together with all my mates and then stick it online. And by the way, just in case you hadn't worked out already, you know, I am exactly the kind of target market demographic that David Bowie and his estate should be selling these bloody records to. Don't make it so difficult for me to spend money with you. The physical music market is dying on its arse, and you are making it more and more difficult and pissing off the fans by doing ridiculously limited bullshit things. Sometimes it feels to me that I'm like playing a video game where I have to go through a level and I somehow have to magically time the time that I press the refresh button in order to get to the page, in order to buy the record that, by the way, is sold out 20 minutes before you announce that it's going to be going on sale. And to make sure that I'm able to spend the money, and you know, a huge number of things have to line up. It's like playing a really complicated level of Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead Redemption, maybe David Bowie Redemption, where you first off you have to make sure you've got a working internet connection. Then you have to make sure that you've either got a laptop or a phone. You have to be logged into the web store, and we won't tell you which web store it is, by the way. It might be Dig, it might be Rhino, it might be David Bowie, it might be Amazon. You have to make sure you've got an account that's fully set up with all of those, with cards that are loaded up and preloaded on those. So in the time between you putting it in your basket and you buying it, that someone else doesn't buy it and take it out of your basket for you. That's one option. The other one is actually making sure you've got enough money to do it. You've got the time to do it, and at a random time yet to be announced, on a random day yet to be announced, that you are going to be able to sit there at this exact moment and go, do it now, buy the thing. And by the way, I've counted. I've got 42 David Bowie 7-inches here. I am not a beginner, and I'm really sorry that, yes, I do have the Laughing Gnome on 7-inch. It is a terrible song, but I own it. But let's have a look through some of the other things which we've got, which are in here, which are difficult. So here, for example, here's a copy of Heroes that was only on a cover mount with Rolling Stone in Germany. It shouldn't be this difficult to have a complete David Bowie discography. Here's one of the picture discs from the David Bowie 40th anniversary picture disc season, which, by the way, I think has been cancelled because there hasn't been a release for a long period of time. So they released a picture disc version on the 40th anniversary of each one of David Bowie's singles, but they've stopped before they got to Ashes because, I don't know, and they haven't told anyone that they've stopped. They've just stopped announcing releasing them. You know, maybe it's because they can't bloody sell them. Maybe it's because we're fed up of being treated like dirt by the estate, as if somehow all they've got to do is put any old random crap and we will run to it, literally begging the estate to repackage old shit for us to spend money on. And you know, there's other things around here. We've got here's one of the 40th anniversary picture discs that wasn't. This is Heroes. This is the 2018 remix. So unless you buy the box set of Loving the Alien, this is the only place that you can get any of the remix stuff from Never Let Me Down Again. Here's Be My Wife, again a 40th anniversary version, and here's yet another difficult to get release, I'm Afraid of Americans, which you can only buy from a museum in Barcelona in 2017. I've got to be really blunt about it. I'm going to put all my cards on the table here. It's fucking difficult to be a David Bowie fan, and it's practically impossible to be a completist. I'm being asked by the estate to jump through hoops and spend ridiculous amounts of money on pointlessly limited editions that shouldn't be that difficult to buy, shouldn't be this difficult to own, and shouldn't have such fragile supply chains. If the numpty who works at Music Clue forgets to pick up my CD copy of Is It Any Wonder, I should get another copy. I shouldn't have to then go to eBay and spend £60 or £70 to buy one off a scalper. These sales techniques are insulting, they're difficult, they're hard, and the only person that they benefit are resellers who are prepared to sell me a copy of Is It Any Wonder on CD for £70, or to sell me a copy of the Mother 7-inch single for £500. Now, Mother on 7-inch single came out today. It sold out 20 minutes before it was announced. That's bullshit, and it's insulting, and it's wrong. And the estate needs to buck up its ideas. It needs to treat the customers with a little bit more respect and a little less exploitation. And I am bloody sick of it. Now, I will buy some of this stuff, but there's a heck of a lot of stuff that's sitting on the shelves that's not being bought because you are treating us like we are suckers. And I'm fucking fed up of it. And that is where I'm going to end episode 42 of the NOTCAST. All I've got to say aside from that is that I'm pretty convinced that if any of these ideas were floated to David Bowie whilst he was alive, that he would probably say no. But dead people can't say no, and that is really wrong. We deserve better as fans of David Bowie than the way that the estate has been treating us for the past 5 years. It literally thinks we have nothing better to do than to throw money at old reissues, coloured vinyl bullshit that's pointlessly limited and sold in consumer hostile formats, fashions and mechanisms. Physical media sales are drastically reducing in the world, and when you've got an endangered market like that, the last thing you should be doing is deliberately annoying your customers, and that is exactly what you are doing. The estate of David Bowie is infuriating its customers and his fans with pointless and worthless product and release mechanisms. And I'm out, guys. I'm going to buy what I want to buy. I can't be a completist. I've got a life. I've got cats. I've got a family. I've got children. I've got friends. Admittedly, I did used to have a social life, but I've got much better things to do with my time and my money than sit around waiting for the estate of David Bowie to decide what coloured limited edition random vinyl remix of a 50-year-old album they're going to release. I've got other stuff going on. In the middle of this COVID catastrophe we all have, we deserve better than the way you treat us. And relax. Deep breath. All is good. I still love the music. That's what matters. All these things are music delivery systems. They're just mechanisms of getting sounds that I love into my ears. And that's how it's going to be. I'm not going to be chasing the unicorns. I'm just going to be buying what I want, whenever I feel like it. And I'm not going to bother. I don't have to jump through hoops. Life is difficult enough in many ways. We have our own stresses and strains to deal with. I don't need that bollocks in my life, of thinking that somehow my life is incomplete because I haven't managed to get all the coloured vinyl variants of The Man Who Sold the World, which is now called the Metropolis, or Station to Station, which is available in red and white. I don't need it. And you're annoying us by doing this. So the estate needs to learn. Dead people can't say no. But if they could, I think they would. Because for all the things that happened in David Bowie's life and his releases, and how challenging some of those were, he never treated the customers like schmucks and like marks to be ripped off and conned. And that's what's happening right now. It needs to end, and it needs to stop. Because whilst nothing can touch what David Bowie did while he was alive, what the estate is doing now is hurting David Bowie's reputation in death by releasing stupid, pointless and exploitative rubbish. Next episode will be considerably more cheerful, I think, although I still will be vaguely annoyed about release strategies for albums. I'm going to be talking through Depeche Mode and where to start when it comes to buying a Depeche Mode discography, which versions of the albums to go through, what you need to get and what you don't need to get. And rather than spoil any of that now, I'm going to do that probably tomorrow. I'd love to say it's been a pleasure, but this episode has come through annoyance. I'd much rather just be happy and lovely and everything would be cool and laughing and joking, but I'm really annoyed about this David Bowie thing. Luckily, I don't have to care. Priorities are what matters. Other things are far more important. Right now, downstairs in my fridge is a tub of ice cream. And although you'll think I do nothing apart from eat ice cream when I'm not doing these NOTCASTs, I'm going to go off and I'm going to eat some of that very medicinal ice cream. I'm probably going to feel a heck of a lot better afterwards. So it's been Friday, 8th of January 2021. I would love to say it's been a pleasure, but like a great many people, I've had the 7-day free trial of 2021, and I've already had to deal with a failed armed insurrection and coup in America, alongside a whole bunch of other stuff. I may not be taking up my subscription for the rest of the year, because frankly, the first 7 days was pretty disappointing. 2020 came in and said, watch this, and 2021 sauntered in and went, hold my beer. And that is that. Well, it's been lovely. As usual, don't be a dick in the comments. Be lovely, and I will see you all soon. Thank you, and adios amigos, as the Ramones said on their final live album. I think there's only so much space in my brain. I've tried to absorb every last piece of musical trivia that exists. I haven't fully succeeded, but god damn it, I'm working on it. See you later. Bye.